Welcome, everybody, to episode 8 of My Hero Analysis Beyond the MHA Rewatch with myself, Tom, and Steph. And how are you doing tonight, Steph?
I'm doing all right. It's actually a pretty good Saturday night. How about you, Tom?
Really? Is the air quality okay up there?
Not really, but
No.
it'll work out.
I felt like the air quality down here, I expect it to be better because not a lot of fires are close. Both of us are in California. So not a lot of the fires are close to me in San Diego. But when I looked, I've been checking because, I'm taking my dog out and we're going for long walks and whatnot. And today it was 4 points away from being dangerous. So it was already if you have any kind of, breathing issues, don't go outside, or have caution, which my dog has breathing issues because he's a short-sounded dog. So, but try telling that to a dog, you can't walk. Sorry.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's it. But it's not that good up there either.
We have a lot of it's down in Garberville, so it's like 2 hours south of us because we're at the very top of California, and there's a lot of farmland out there that's kind of on fire right now. Like in my job, a lot of the cannabis farmers are on fire right now, so they're not too happy about it, and so they've been
Yeah, that's a big stress, especially because your industry, you deal with them specifically. So it's like, I can't imagine, what that is because they have so many cards are stacked against cannabis farmers already because it's not federally recognized, and and then all of a sudden now their crops are burning. Yeah, it's like. But we're here to talk about My Hero Academia, so let's ignore. Right? Let's ignore the hellscape that is 2020 for just a little bit and go into the fun stuff, which I'm queuing up in the background, which I am in a special place in my mind today, so I don't even know where the buttons are to make things full screen. What am I doing? There we go. Okay.
I found your Schizo shirt, though.
I did. And so I love the shirt. I would love it more if the print was up here. It's just so weird because if I wear it normally, it's right around my nipples, and it's very strange for me that it doesn't start higher. But yeah. Hello, everybody in the chat. Welcome. Eva is saying, "Thank fuck, give me some avoidance." Yeah, plenty. We'll give you plenty of avoidance for at least an hour and a half to 2 hours. Promise. And yeah, dogs definitely don't know what's good for them. Oh, Dan! Thank you. Finally, someone entered saying I am here. Thank you. That made me very, very happy.
Yeah.
So let's kick off with episode 22.
And this, like I was mentioning to you earlier, this is one of my top 5 episodes. So I'm super excited to go over this.
I thought the next episode was one of your okay. See, that's what I thought. So when you put up your story post earlier today, you were talking about a specific, episode. And I assumed it was this one. But for me, it's funny enough because that description that you wrote could also describe the episode after this one, which is one of my top 5 episodes of all time. Yeah. But take it away.
This episode was really surprising my first time watching through because I went into it kind of trying to feel out characters, and you don't get a lot of female characters acting strongly. So I was excited for Chaco for this entire episode. It doesn't go well for her, but at least she put all of her all into it. So
I think it's funny that you say that because I don't think if you look on paper, where it's okay, well, she doesn't win kind of thing. It doesn't go well, but in terms of, I think of her drive to become a hero, she couldn't possibly come out of this stronger of that drive. This whole experience, what she goes through here, only pushes her further. And what we'll see from here is it shows her areas that she needs to improve upon, all this other kind of stuff, and she becomes such a strong character because of it. Yeah, fantastic.
And it's a good title. There you go.
Yep, straight to the point. Honestly, I think at least this episode of the next one just should have been Student A versus Student B titles.
Yeah. And then the faces. So that a lot of these images are going to be the face-offs between the two of them. But I love, again, his faces are extraordinary when he has to he's just an ugly faced kind of person, and I love it. So it's great great mouth and great smirk. And then
Yeah.
you go to Bakugo, who looks like she's ready to go, but she's definitely more poised than Bakugo going off.
Yeah.
At the beginning of this episode, I liked the exchange where he's like, if you're gonna withdraw, do it now. And so like he gives her the option, which for Bakugo is kind of a difference because usually he wouldn't care about someone's safety in this regard. But I
Yeah.
think that he is kind of starting to evolve a little bit where he's like, okay, I'm gonna give her the option. And I realized too, I think there's a couple slides later on where she's like, withdrawing is not an option. And then he just responds with his regular Bakugo response because he realizes he gets to. This line made me laugh too. Because flat face, round face, he's just like, okay, I'm just going to give you guys all the worst nicknames in the universe.
They're all just shapes in his head. That's it.
He knew what her quirk was though. So
Yep.
that's what threw me off a little bit because he didn't remember anything. He's like, wait a second, this is that you're the one that makes things float because I think he paid attention when they fought each other before. So
Yeah. This and it's funny too because like going in, I'm sure we're going to cover it in a second, but it's like you have a lot of people doubting Uraraka here, and the one person who doesn't seem to actually doubt her, even though he does give her the out in the beginning, is Bakugo here, which is kind of crazy. Yeah.
And this was kind of just a leeway. Like Ida's like, well, Midoriya, what strategy would you think of for her? And his only thing that he could think of, because again, they're not thinking that she can fight or keep up with Bakugo because he's just crazy and been training and can move around. He's fast. He's like fighting style. And they're like, oh, she has to move first and touch him and basically make him float away. And that's going to be her only real chance of winning.
Well, I think it also goes into play of like how highly Midoriya thinks of Bakugo. You know, it's like he has speed, reaction time, skill, amazing quirk. Like I think even he lists like a whole bunch of stuff because in Midoriya's mind, like and he'll go into this later in the series. It's like the untouchable greatness of All Might was out of his reach when he was growing up, but he had Bakugo right there to watch, and Bakugo was the All Might in his life kind of thing. And so when he thinks about his friends going up against this person, of course he's going to be like, well, I mean, you're not going to stand a candle to this kid that I've admired all this time. But I think everybody kind of shows different sides, and it's kind of great. We get to see Midoriya kind of like update his notes in a way.
Yeah. And like I like this saying right here too. The more he sweats, the more his explosion quirk gets stronger. I didn't even think about it because it'll the more he moves, the faster he goes, the more he's going to sweat, the better it's going to be for him. So it's just like a big bomb going off the entire time.
And it just continues to build and build and build. Yep.
I think and this is when she's like, withdrawing is not an option. And then Bakugo's like, well, then I guess you're going to die. Just like, we'll just go for it.
I love that he says that, but no one, I think all the other students at this point recognize that he just says that. And no one reacts like the die thing anymore. Because like you think like as the other hero across the stage would be like, die, like come on, this is like a friendly competition kind of thing. But she just like does not bat an eyelash and just goes right into it.
And then she just starts running at him like the really quick, no hesitation, which was super, super cool. Because Bakugo's intimidating, and like she was really scared going into this, and it seems like when she gets out there, she's just as up on par with him. And you're right, he recognizes that, and he's like, "Okay, let's go."
Yep, and she also keeps this crazy low stance, which plays into this whole scenario strategy that she has worked out. But we'll learn a little bit more about that in a little bit. But it was the very first time I remember the first time I watched it. I'm like, why is she running like that? Like with her arms, like kind of like a monster in a way. I don't know. Come to me while I run to you, kind of thing. It was very bizarre.
I thought maybe it was because she was trying to like figure out how she was going to get her hands like the best way to touch him because she knows he's fast. And I was like, maybe that would work. But I was like, it is kind of an awkward stance if you don't know what's going on when you first see it.
But you would also think like, if that was her goal from the get-go, she would probably be running with her arms out, be like, I'm going to get you. Like, I don't know. I love how excited Ida was for this because, like, after Midoriya explained what could possibly be her strategy, Ida was like, "I understand now." So he won't want her to get close. He was like very excited that he got it. You know?
Yeah. And yeah, then die. That's basically what he just like. All right, I'm gonna do this then. And he doesn't. He does everything 100%. He's not gonna be. And everyone else is like, well, can't you let up because it's a girl? And no, Bakugo's like, you want to play? We're gonna play.
Yeah, but I think that if he were to let up because she was a girl, that kind of demeans the whole thing of her trying to be a hero as well. Because
Yeah.
villains aren't going to care if the hero is a female or a male or
No.
have any kind of thing that would set them apart from anybody else. It's like, no, everybody's treated the same and everybody should be treated the same. And Bakugo very clearly is like, I'm going to treat you exactly the same as everybody else. I will kill everybody else. I'm going to kill you. It's just how it is.
And I think that goes back to the locker room when Ida was asking, oh, like Bakugo will surely take into account that she's not quite as good as him. And he's like, no, he won't.
Yep.
he's going to see it and do it. So it's pretty awesome. Yeah. The mixed reactions from these three throughout the entire like thing, I think I got most of them was hilarious.
Yeah. Mineta does say like one line that's really kind of creepy. I don't know about it, but I'll let it. We'll see if it comes up, and if not, I'll bring it up.
Yeah, it's just it's like this whole time. I think they're just running at each other, and she's getting pelted by like fire and explosions and everything. I don't know how many times it was.
Oh, she was getting destroyed. It was like one of those things where it's like you kind of wonder if just the ability, like having a quirk, makes you sturdier or something like that. I don't know. She must have been taking some of the debris and making it float before it touches her, or removing the gravity of it, which then would prevent it from hitting her as hard or something like that. Because I think if I got hit with 20 explosions or something like that, I'd probably be dead on the ground. Probably just one would be all.
Yeah. And I couldn't get this in like a sequence because she kept getting blown away. So like she made her jacket float, and this is Bakugo with his hand on the jacket, exploding it, thinking he's caught her, and then realizing that she's come up from behind him.
And this was the first the first move that she does, right? And in retaliation, like after she rushes him, he blows her up, like, and she's expecting, because after her and Midoriya teamed up during the earlier classes and whatnot, she knows his first move is a large like right hand swing, and which she does. But she even like recognizes and says, she's like, well, I'm not fast enough to react to that, so she got hit with it. But she uses the smoke screen very cleverly in this scenario.
Yeah, and I think part of like the running stance and all the weird like things it does might help with the explosions. Like, how is my body going to be okay with taking all these hits and doing this stuff? Like, there's a lot of thinking going on in this match that you wouldn't expect from either of these characters. So it was really unique in that way too. Because like even this moment, he reacts within like seconds. Like he noticed that she's behind him, and they mention it. I think in the people in the audience, like I think it's Sero and Kaminari are talking about it. Like it didn't even rest. And Kirishima was watching him too, because whoever wins this is going to be fighting him later.
I'm very proud of you for calling Kaminari and not Calamari.
Took me a second. Yeah. These like blasts always like made my heart hurt too. I was like, wow. She was just like, hey, I'm gonna take this in a tank top and just do my best. These are huge blasts across and chunks of debris. It's crazy. No, this is one of them too.
Yeah. This is when he says it. I feel like this is when he says it. No.
Oh, I didn't get it then.
Oh, it's just great because Mineta is like, "Is this what you're into, Bakugo?" Thinking,
oh, that's right. Yes,
it's such a creepy line because everything that Mineta does, or all of his intonations and anything he does, is always out of, I guess, trying to get a girl to notice him and be with him or what. I don't know. I can't even put my head into his headspace. So of course he thinks that Bakugo here going up against a girl would also be thinking the exact same way he's thinking, which no one else is thinking the way you're thinking, Mineta. No one. Well, I take that back. Kaminari, they become besties in a very good way. Yeah.
There's just more of poor Erica getting like herself beat up, but there's some really cool action sequences in this, which is one of the reasons why I'm hoping that we would have some, maybe sometime soon we'll be able to get to see some of these action pieces because they're so well done. It's hard to freeze frame
Yeah.
and not blurry because it's like moving. It's amazing.
All of the battles in this, and I know Eva was talking about this in the chat. She was saying how some of her favorite shonen stuff is the smart battles. The action in this, at least first 2 episodes, and a little bit in the 3rd episode that we'll cover tonight, is so frenetic and so beautifully like rendered, especially the episode to come after this. It's just, yeah, it's an impossible thing to capture in screen caps, but you know, we all watched it, so we all know.
Yeah. I think this is just more of yeah, decimation and everything. And I think this is by the time when this party looked like a demon. Like I was like, wow, they're just like playing it up. The villain, like he's just beating on her, like going like it was just so intense for this moment because this is when this crowd starts kind of getting in on it. Like, what are you doing? You call yourself a hero. Why are you doing this to somebody who obviously is not as good as you? Like, and all this stuff, and like that's feeding into everything. I will relate that Bakugo probably doesn't hear any of it because he's just the way he is. He only thinks about who's in front of him and what's happening at that moment, which is one of his better features. So it kind of like happens because I think even there's a bunch of pros that stand up and start talking about badly about it, and there's a lot of booing and everything else. And this is
Zawa does a great job.
He's so good at supporting every single person in the class for all their unique opportunities and strengths. He identifies with each one of them and why they're going to be good heroes. It's really cool.
I love, yeah, because even as like the people are booing and they're saying, you know, how dare you go toe to toe with this person who's clearly not as powerful as you said. And then we actually get President Mike who says like, oh, even though I kind of agree with them, but then Aizawa just elbows him out of the way and grabs the microphone. He has his own microphone, but he grabs President Mike's microphone to be like, no, you're done talking. Let me talk here.
And he goes into like this rant. He's like, who was that a pro that even said that? Like, I don't think I got the whole thing screen captured. It's like going line by line, but he calls them out and says, maybe you should pick a different career. And he's like, Bakugo is being careful. He is paying attention because he's acknowledged the strength of his opponent. And this is what, like, he knowingly know that Ochako is strong, that she's ready for this, and that she can fight him and take him at full capability. And so that feeds into the next episode too, where they're all there trying to do their best, and they're not going to hold back because they have to be the hero that they're going to be.
And Eva says, in regards to Aizawa, it's like as part of his job, he needs to analyze everyone in his life, allies and enemies on the fly. And that is totally Aizawa, especially with his skill set, his ability is only to turn off quirks. So he has to analyze what other people are bringing to the table, what maybe they have in their suit and stuff like that. Happens on microphone.
I know. I was like, I stop myself from laughing. Very well done, Dan.
It's a golf clap, Dan.
Yeah.
Such a good face, and I was really when I watched this episode, and I know we talk about Nendos every week, and I'm going to bring it up again real quick. I was like, how is this face not one of the faceplates on the Nendo? But then I'm like, well, okay, now they have to just do the training, the school uniform, and then put that face on the school uniform. Let's get like all just serious Ochako faces on that.
It's just like it's such a good like expression, ready to go. I like how she says not dead, because obviously that's response to the go die basically from Bakugo. Like she even thanks him for like being as attentive and ready to go and not really paying it. He's so focused on her and what's going on that he's not really knowing what's going on.
Yep.
And I didn't put Monoma in here because I don't want to look at his face for this entire episode. So, but he called it and like broke down her strategy and everything, and acts like everyone else is dumb for not seeing it. So
he was great though, because like he does call out that bit, but before then, you almost think that he's referring to that he agrees with the crowd, but that he like quickly does like that kind of like reveal switch, being like, no, everybody who is booing isn't, paying attention. And then I think he's the one who points upward for everybody to like, look, like, hey, maybe all of you are missing what's actually happening here because you're looking too narrow focus down on the field. But, look up.
Yeah. This is why she thanks him for not letting his guard down.
And then Meteor Tower, which is a great name for this that President Mike gives this ability. And I don't understand why Midoriya calls it a desperate plan, because it's not a desperate plan. I mean, I guess in a sense, she's going up against someone who's clearly overmatched for her in power. So it's desperate in that kind of a plan situation, but it was very calculated from the moment she started.
I think also it's like, it's kind of hard. I mean, running through that debris that's falling, she might hurt herself too. So it might be desperate in like the act of it, not knowing what else to do.
Yeah, that's true. Because she's rushing in as those things are falling.
Yeah, because she's trying to keep it to think Bakugo can't hit everything at once. And I liked this line. Like, she's really striving to be just as cool as somebody that is in her class that she sees, and she wants to be like Deku, because everybody thinks that he just pulls stuff out of his, even though he's analyzed everything and everyone. Yep. It's like, it's a slow process of being and thinking a little bit more. So I liked that she was thinking about that.
It's funny that people respect that about Deku, like how he's able to, kind of like pull these plans and whatnot out of his head, but they hate when he mutters, and like that's part of his analytics. I'm like, that's him analyzing this. This is the part of him that you like and you respect, and yet you're like, dude, chill, stop. I'm like, no, you don't want him to stop, because that's what makes him be exactly who you're trying to emulate. But
yeah. This part too, because it goes up his arm, like his sweat is like just going crazy, and it's just like the hand thing was just, and he had to hold it, because I forgot that he starts talking about the fatigue that it takes on his body, and how like making explosions happen hurts probably. It's not the most fun thing probably for him either, because I
imagine it dries out, because if it's sweat glands, right? The more he fires must dry him out to the point where it feels like his skin is cracking, and that's kind of, I mean, you do see it kind of like bubble its way up, but I feel like that's just the anime being like, this is kind of what it would feel like inside. And then his hand, he's nearing his end here.
Because he has to hold it. You got to think that force is pushing his arm down. Like, he has to have enough strength to hold it for those explosions to go off in the right way that they are. The carpal tunnel that he's going to have is ridiculous in my mind later on.
That's good thinking. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and just like the sheer force of everything being blown off there. And like she goes flying. I think the crowd hits the wind and everything from it. The next year they need to make the stadium bigger, because I swear every fight they get blown like chunks of debris and ice and everything else.
I think that's half the thing that people love about it, right? It's like you feel that wind in your face and you're like, yeah, you come back and you cheer. Yeah. It's amazing. There's a scene in the Aquaman movie that's kind of like that to me, where it's like there's a shockwave and it blows the entire audience back, and they're like, oh. And then as soon as it clears, they all go forward and they're like, yes, this is the best thing ever. Think of that now. Oh, I think this is out of order.
I think it's a recap, like right afterwards too.
Oh, it was probably like that mid-break kind of thing.
Yeah. And then the explosion that happens afterwards.
Smoke clears.
This too, he recognizes that she's friends with Deku, which also means that he noticed her and that he realized that she's somebody that he needs to be watching too, not a pebble on the road, as we're going to go back to the analogy. And so he was thinking, I knew you were going to have something that was going to be odd and difficult for me. And I think at this point in time, he realizes, okay, if this is going to be a real fight, let's go. Let's do this. And he gets like really into it. And then she's freaking out. This is a faceplate I need for her.
That'd be a good one.
Just like, what is wrong with you?
She's like, she's just dumbfounded by his power, his ability to just like knock away the entire arena was covered overhead by those rocks. And the fact that he took them all out in one blast, like he used so much power. And I think like at the end of the day, like this is the end of this battle. And I do think that, if it kept going, we would have seen Bakugo, not have as much blasting power, because I think he used most of it right there. Satisfying explosion.
Yeah. I just like to go from like scared to covering her face to like trying to like peek through fingers, like, oh my god, I still want to watch, but this is crazy. And then, and he starts shaking, like his hand is like clearly not doing well. So it's just like that was close. Like he was really like that was something he was not expecting. He was not gonna have to take it on, and then he gets into like this crazy like ready to like kill someone face and like fight.
Yeah. I like he's like, all right, let's get serious then. I've only blown you up 30 times so far. I could go for at least 20 more.
He calls her by her name. Like you have to realize that's his point, where he's like now gonna say that this person is worth his time.
Yep. Well, they're not extras anymore to him.
No.
He's learning who's not extras, I think, in this one big battle. And unfortunately, poor Sero, still an extra, because I think he continues to call him flat-faced to this day.
Mm-hmm.
Creation Odyssey says, my favorite part, in all caps, is him saying her name. It just proves that he truly acknowledges that she is on his level. Yep. Mm-hmm. It was one of those things that, from us discussing this week to week, it's like when this came up again, because I've seen this episode countless times at this point. It's like when that happened, I'm like, that's a big character shift, like we're actually seeing that big change in Bakugo, and it's great.
It's just like with Kirishima during the Calvary battle, when he's like actually using his name. It was like the first moment for that, and then he realizes that she's obviously not able to continue.
Yeah, she starts rushing in. She's ready for it, but her body is just not. So it gives up on her. Yeah. She falls.
And he's really bummed too, because he was like, "Okay, I'm ready to do this. This is going to be fun." Because I think he likes the challenge. He likes to be like somebody there that wants to fight and do the same dream, that he thinks that he's going to have something new and challenging.
I think this set of episodes of the tournament is something that, Bakugo was very excited about. And as we'll see to the end of it, he was not excited, like not very happy with the resolution, because he didn't get the toe-to-toe battle he was hoping for.
No. And this part was sad. It's kind of like going through her mind and her little thing. Like Deku has his flashbacks and everything going on, and each character has their kind of like backstory during these next few episodes. And so I'm glad that they kept hers on here too, where she was really, really like thinking back on why she's there and what's motivating her. And
one of my favorite parts of this episode is the after this battle. It is her being in that room, her getting the call from her parents, which we'll see in a second, and then that whole conversation with them. It's just, it's a touching thing.
Mm-hmm.
And Midnight was very sad about her being out of commission.
I think everybody was, even Bakugo, because it was just like, oh, this is how it would be. Like her fight was not really honored. Really, it was like her body gave out before she was ready for it. So,
another reason why I want to see the second year of the tournament, because I feel like
a rematch.
Oh my God, she grows in leaps and bounds to a ridiculous degree. Actually, because of this tournament, she'll follow suit with some really great things.
Yeah, he's a little winter sign.
Yep.
They kind of go over there. Oh, so All Might and Endeavor have their thing on the stairs, which was very professional and very kind of like curt, and Endeavor's kind of mean. But this made me laugh because their exchange is very them. And so even though, but it's just like, he's like mad that Beku's even there. Like, what are you doing? Why are you always showing up when I'm trying to contemplate things? And he's like, good job on your fight. And then I think later on he starts yelling at him. He's like, oh yeah, congrats on winning the first round. He like kind of sneaks off.
Yeah.
And he starts yelling at him because he thinks that he gave her that idea. Because he's like, you have to be,
And it's very much not. And I think he turns around right here.
Yeah. And he's like, the only reason you find it annoying is because she led you around by the nose in the ring. Is what he says to him, which I was like, wow, Deku, jeez. Oh, yeah.
And it's great. I think this is also it's a wake up call to. I'm sorry, I jumped ahead.
Okay.
I should have. It's a wake up call to Kachan, which I love the way Deku says Kachan when he runs up on the stairs. He's like Kachan, like it's very nasally in a way that I'm like but it's a wake up call to him in a way like you got to stop underestimating these people who got to this higher echelon the same as you did. There's a reason they're here. You might have thought that everybody in middle school was an extra and all that other stuff, but you have to understand you're now in this school. Everybody's on this level, and you can think that it's just me coming up with this stuff, but it's Ochako came up with her own thing to lead you around, and you're going to keep getting taken advantage of unless you start thinking of other people highly.
And then the conversation here about how he's the villain or whatever, and like that was really tough on playing the bad guy. And I was laughing about it because I realized that they all think that he's just all talk. It's like a dog that just barks and barks and barks and barks and barks, but never does anything about it. And so it was just funny that they all started making fun of him, and then he immediately goes into Bakugo mode and just tells them to shut up and gets pissed off.
This is also I think this is the start of Bakugo really becoming a little bit more quiet in 1A. There's a time where he'll kind of recede into the background and start watching more and stop exploding on people like he did in the beginning for the longest time. And I think this is kind of it. It's he won, but he might not have won the way how he wanted to. It wasn't as definitive, all this kind of stuff. So yeah, his shut up and be quiet was a little more defensive than I think he wanted it to be.
Oh, and then Kaminari talks about how he doesn't fight girls and how he let the other girl, and then Froppy Suits is like, nope, you completely got sealed off, Kaminari. You don't need to be talking about anything right now.
Yep, immediately. Mm-hmm. Let's say hello to Chef Toyardi in the chat. MJ, welcome. Yeah, I think this is when they talk about Ochako being frail, and he's like, what part of her was frail?
Yeah. And that's and this is also when Deku goes in there, he finds her, and they're talking or going off, and she's just completely angst about it, frustrated, and that.
But she's in good spirits. I think Deku even said he's shocked, he expected her to be beating herself up, but she was frustrated, but it was more like a smiley frustrated, that I could do better, I'll do better next time kind of thing. Oh.
And it kind of goes off into this because he's walking out of the room, or they hear something in there, and it's the second round tiebreaker, which is Kirishima and Tetsu, I'm gonna say it. And then they have their little arm wrestling thing, and it's the coolestly drawn arm wrestling match I've ever seen.
It's funny to me too that Tetsu's quirk is the one that has the fatigue first, because I would think metal versus hardening, metal would kind of last longer, but I guess he does explain why, and he has to eat more iron to keep his metal up, which is a crazy thing. I don't know, just have to eat iron just to use your quirk more diligently, I guess. That is great. I don't know, is that considered cheating if you grab onto the table to use
He's got the other side.
Oh, he does he? Okay.
Yeah, Tetsu's got the other side, so they wouldn't actually move it around. But they have no pupils. It's insane. They're just completely into it. And then they're handshake at the end of this too to be friends again. Yeah.
One of my standout moments from this episode is, and I don't think there's a picture of it. Maybe there is. Okay, great. Midnight's little dance, being so youthful. She's shaking side to side. She's just loving it.
The manliness of the two of them, or just the kids in general. I want to see how she was in high school, because I bet she was hilarious. So
she's ridiculous. You should. I'm going to preach the gospel of vigilantes yet again if you want to see it in high school. Love Cement Toss is the one person I've seen who's just I don't know, flat faced, kind of almost. His face is always in a permanent frown. Mm-hmm. So I love it, but he's just this, what the heck? It's great.
And then it kind of cuts back to them talking, and then so she tells Deku not to worry, she's gonna be fine, and she's like, "You better go out there and do your fight." And she's like, "I'll be watching you, so good luck." And he leaves, and then he has the saddest face on it, on too, because he realizes she's still encouraging him when he's supposed to be the friend that's helping her when she's down. So it was cute. And this too, her dad calls just to see how she's doing and tell her she's amazing and like goes through all this stuff, and then she just goes, "I was completely beaten," like goes through it. And I think he says, "I don't know about these complicated things."
I'm a simple man. I don't know these complicated things, kind of thing. Like I love how innocent his dad is in this stuff because they're supporting her, but at the same time, they don't quite get it. But they're like, whatever you want, whatever makes you happy, whatever pushes you forward, we support you. But we don't get it, like we're not going to understand everything, but we have your back.
Yeah. I think it's also like when Froppy was talking about giving Deku time to get comfortable with stuff. I like how they like said, you can take your time, just do what you need to do. Yeah, it's fine even if you don't rush. Like, be you and have fun, and we'll be fine. We don't need you to like take it. But they still mentioned taking him to Hawaii later on.
I think she even said, she's like, when she says that she was upset that she lost, like she really wanted to quickly get to supporting them, kind of thing. And like, it doesn't matter how she does in school. She's not a pro hero. She's not going to start making money yet. But I think she saw it as like the jumping point. Like she knows the stakes of this tournament is to get in good with the pros and become a sidekick, straight out the bat. Becoming a sidekick gets you great in terms of like, prospects out of school, that stuff. So, yeah.
And then she starts. I didn't get all the cryy faces because it was sad. It was a thing. She's like, they're all like 13 or 14 years old. Like, this is a lot for them. She got blown up.
It's they rush into adulthood very quickly on the show.
Yeah. So I was like, oh. And then, yeah. And he knows it too. He's like, oh, she's really, really frustrated. And then this next encounter in this episode, I totally forgot ever happened. And
really?
It like surprised me. And I'm like, what is going on? Like Endeavor just walks around and he's like, oh, there you are. And he's like, what?
You're going to go to the bathroom too, and that's going to be back there. I imagine he probably has to go to the bathroom a lot because he gets dehydrated a lot. So he probably has to drink a lot. I don't know. I'm just making stuff up. But it does seem like he's looking for him. Like there you are.
Yeah. And it's like he goes on about basically that Shoto's going to be the best, but he also like kind of gives him a pep talk about don't like disrespect yourself, or don't be like something. I can't remember the exact wording for it. And he goes on about how he's kind of like All Might, so it's a good challenge for Shoto, and he's like excited about that. But it's weird how he talks to him. It was like almost like cheering him on to make him feel better, to fight better. But it was like, still, I'm going to throw this in your face because Todoroki's better than you. I didn't get it.
Endeavor's entire game plan at this point in time in the show is just making Todoroki a better Todoroki, better Todoroki, because that's Endeavor's last name. And he sees Deku as a stepping stone because he has a power similar, he recognizes, to All Might. He says like, that the wind, the pressure that he expunges by flicking just his finger was on a similar playing field as All Might. So it would be a very instructive test bed for, Shoto.
That's what it says. But please don't disgrace yourself in it, which was a very odd comment.
That is don't just lose within 2 seconds. This should be a better fight kind of thing. Like, don't disgrace yourself. Don't get punched out and be done kind of thing. Like, don't be Sero, unfortunately.
He didn't get in 2 seconds. He did get his little tape things on him for like 3 seconds. So
yeah, it's true. He pushed him to the side. Yeah, okay. This is a flashback to
so he's talking about how he's rejecting him, and I think at this point Midoriya is thinking, "Oh, this is the relationship that Todoroki's talking about. The Shoto's talking about with his dad. This is the person that Endeavor is." And he does not like it whatsoever. No one should like it to this point in time for their relationship. But I really could see it like kind of churning in his head about really wanting to support Shoto and like do it. At the same time, he was like, and he talks back again. He's getting a pair.
This was my favorite line from this episode. Was he's getting this third degree from Endeavor. Not really. He's getting this Endeavor trying to be the dad, being like, oh, hey, give him a good fight kind of thing. He's going to win. He's been groomed to be the best. I've created him to surpass all my. Endeavor talks from a point of like, Shoto is just his experiment to topple Might in this hierarchy of heroes. And, all this time he's talking down to him, and Endeavor's not used to getting talked down to ever. He's used to, saying whatever he wants to say and people being terrified of him. Yeah. And then Midoriya just comes back and is like, Todoroki isn't you, like, either. Like, he's his own person.
The only thing, I love this too because poor Ida thinks that she got punched in the face.
Yep.
And she's like, no, this is from something else. And he's like talking to her about something, and I think Tokiyama just totally like shuts him down too, and like Ida realizes that he's worrying too much and like something's going on. I couldn't remember the exact like conversation during this point, but Tokiyama had a lot of great like lines in this when he was watching things. When Deku's not there to explain something, he was explaining what happened between the parties.
But in a very Tokiyama kind of way, where it's just matter of fact and just like done. Like saying my thing, keep my arms crossed, staring down, not getting into it.
And this, like,
where else would he be?
Yeah.
I thought I was going to do a lap outside for a while. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So this is like one of the coolest battles. I'll give you that. I really liked the last episode just because of like the growth for both characters, but this is like most well animated, cool use of their powers. Like I liked it a lot.
This is the end of episode 22 though, right?
Yeah. There we are. Going into it, huh?
Yeah. It starts off with them. It starts off with I think President Mike announcing the go pretty much. So I think I don't know if this.
They're trying to figure out what's going on or what's going to happen.
Yeah. We'll keep going until I think there's a clear start.
Oh yes, this was the end of the episode.
Okay, the watch. Prepare to move.
To watch carefully, so in case they were going to be somebody they needed to deal with later.
Obstacles in the road or something like that is what he says. Yeah. This ominous figure that we don't know who he is.
Mm-hmm.
Or something.
And then Tamura just says, like, the next slide is just like, that's a load of crap. Like, he doesn't want to deal with them whatsoever. He's like, no one's going to beat me.
Which is funny. If you read the manga, and I'm not sure if anyone in the chat keeps up to date where this line is with exactly what's happening right now in the manga.
Mm-hmm.
It's great. That's it. That's all I'll say on that.
Oh, this was the last one. Never mind. All the tissues. This poor lady.
Oh my God. Poor Mrs. Midoriya. She's a mess. Yeah, I think it kicked off with this one. So let's go into favorite moments from the episode.
It's the Aizawa kind of like breakdown for the Ochako Bakugo kind of thing, and like everybody instantly going to, you're a villain because you have like these crazy powers, you're beating down on somebody lesser than you instead of actually looking at the competition part, and Aizawa calling them all on it. Just straight, just like, nope, this is how it is. You guys need to realize that, he sees her as his equal now. So
I think the Aizawa moment would have to be up there as like one of my. I have like 3 favorite moments from this episode. It's a fantastic episode, and it is one where we see a lot of character growth from not the main character, which is great. I love episodes like that, and we had great growth with Bakugo acknowledging Ochako. We had Aizawa explaining, basically slapping the audience down into place, being like, no. There's a reason why both these people are on stage and where they are. But I think of everything, my number one moment has to be what happens after the fact. Ochako taking her entire experience and taking it in stride in a way to be like, okay, this is what happened. Let me let it inform me going forward, not bring me down, not make me want to like leave, which, a lesser character would probably be like, that's it. If I can't beat him, I can't beat villains kind of thing. But no, this is like step one on Ochako's journey pretty much. And it's a great like path for her forward. So I think it's that little prep room after bit that we get of her talking to her parents and stuff.
Yeah.
We get Dan's, which is my favorite, was Ochako cheering herself up after the fight. Was proud of her. Exactly. That's, yeah, me too.
Mm-hmm.
So if anybody else in the chat, let us know your favorite moments.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this was a good one. I saw a lot of good conversation happening in the chat while we were talking. You know, I want to bring up Creation Odyssey says, like, going back to Endeavor when he encounters Deku. So I feel like Endeavor was acknowledging him as a worthy opponent almost, but at the same time was like, you're not going to be better than my creation. And I think that sums it up perfectly. I think that's exactly it, because he's like, you know, you're close to All Might. You are, you know, my son hasn't had much of a challenge to this point. You're going to prove a good challenge, but my creation is the best. Like, there's no chance. Eva says, my fave was just the whole fight. I think she won, actually. Bakugo showed nothing, but she had everything to gain and did, even if she didn't win. It was smart what she tried to do. I agree. She had the most growth.
Yeah.
Much in that. James' moment was Midnight's Wiggle and Bandage Guy. Aizawa telling Mike shut up. Both of those moments are fantastic. Bandage Guy. Yeah. If it's not Toga, James doesn't care. That's it.
It's all right. If it's not Bakugo, I don't really care too much either. It's all right.
Wow. Oh, okay.
Throw that out there.
We're going to get into what is, for me, in my top 5 all-time favorite episodes of this entire series so far. So let's jump in.
Yeah. And you kind of go back into a backstory. So you got the hallway conversation between Shoto and him telling Deku about his like what makes him up and like what's going on, and basically why he can't use his right side because he's going to win with his left to beat his dad, and explain Endeavor's whole being, which Deku got to experience firsthand on his way into the fight, which is kind of sums up what Shoto's saying and making it more accurate. Which I don't know how Deku feels about Endeavor, except that he's the number 2 hero, because, you know, he loves all heroes. So I don't know if that was like a shocker to him, like he's going to go home and burn his notebook with Endeavor's information in it. But it was like one of those things. I tried to get as many of Shoto walking because they did a really good job with his hair flowing. I know that Deku's doesn't move as much, so it was like the coolest way for like a montage of people walking onto a tournament stage is always really cool, and I loved the way they did these with the fire and everything.
I don't know what it was about this episode, but I felt like, you know, their animation is always solid. But I feel like the animation in this episode specifically was turned up to a level beyond what we've seen in the series so far.
Yeah.
And there's one moment specifically, and we're going to cut to, I think, that moment when that happens. Because I think it needs to be shown again, even though everybody here has seen it. I want to watch it again. So
yeah. And like he keeps preaching about how he's just gonna take him on with just his left, and I love Midoriya. Just like got a backbone for these last 2 episodes. He's like, I'm gonna tell off Bakugo, I'm gonna tell off Endeavor, and now I'm just gonna like basically chew you out during this match because he's there to win. He's there to be awesome, and it's just like Shoto goes into a lot of monologues in this one about how I'm just going to use my left side. I'm going to keep doing it. And we get further into the fight. You'll see that Deku's just like tired of it. He's done with it.
Deku, in this, I got to, give him all the props in the world. This is actually an episode that reinforced him as my favorite character because, he goes beyond a state that, I don't know, he has this emotion in this that's just like, he's crazy. He's absolutely crazy, and I love it. And I was like, this is not what I expected this character to be like at all once we got to this point. And, it turned, I saw a different facet to him.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, Shoto is that whole, I got to rise with just my right side. It's this point of pride. And like, I just use my mom's power, which Iceman is one of my favorite X-Men. No disrespect to Ice Powers. Ice Powers is one of the best powers in any series that has powers. But if you have fire and ice and you combine them, you have one of the most powerful abilities possible. And Deku recognizes this, and for someone to be like, "Nah, I'm going to beat everybody with just 50% of my power," that stinks. If someone's saying that, he has to take him down a peg, I think.
Especially when you saw somebody just even the last match, take on somebody and they saw them on equal playing field. They're gonna be the best competitor they can be. It pisses him off. It just Deku's just what is wrong with you?
Yeah, and Deku recognizes how strong Shoto is. He's one of the strongest people. Even with just one of his powers, he's you're one of the strongest people. You have a 0 lag in your ability. It's the second you think there's an ice wall, and it's gone.
Yeah. So it's kind of goes back and forth in this point, and then I think that we start getting the barrages, which is they go into some sadder points where Shoto's kind of going to flashbacks of part of his. I think he even says that he hasn't remembered it in a long time. Usually he remembers most of the painful memories and not the happier stuff when he was talking about being a hero and what's going to happen.
I thought he meant so this line, "but you want to be a hero, don't you?" His mom. There's another sentence that comes after this line that he'll remember later on in this fight, and I feel like that's what he's saying. I don't remember. I didn't. I don't think about this moment that often, but I think what he says that he doesn't remember is what she says next, because what she says next is exactly what Deku is saying through this entire fight, pretty much to him. I mean, what comes after this line?
I don't think I got that one.
No, it happens later, so I think you might.
Yeah. So they kind of go to the flashbacks, but I think it's just when he starts off right out of the gate. They both do, actually. They both get ready, to just we'll say the wrestling thing, ready to rumble for this whole entire part because
that is a copyrighted phrase. We did not say that on this show. Just joking. I mean, it is copyrighted, but it's fine. As long as you don't say it not Bruce Buffer. Wait, is that Bruce Buffer that says that, or is that his brother, the other Buffer brother? I don't know. It doesn't matter. But yeah, we see Deku basically turn his arm into a gun because he has a little flick finger up and he's bracing it with his other arm, and Shoto's just ready to send an ice wall his way.
Because Shoto doesn't know what's going to happen. This is the thing is he still doesn't know how Deku's quirk works, what he can do with it, how powerful it's going to be. He sets up the ice around him so he doesn't get blown back too far. He preps himself, and I think there's even some later on commentary where he's oh, he's not just ice or fire. There's some thinking going on in there too. And so Deku has to slow down and think and still react at the same time. It's a crazy little one, back and forth.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I think he, even after the very first flick, he's shocked. He's oh, I didn't think you were actually going to bring yourself to getting damaged here. MJ said it's Bruce, and that's going back to the Buffer brothers. But I think Bruce is the Buffer. Bruce Buffer does UFC, and UFC's is It's Time. The other Buffer brother is the one who did it for wrestling, and that's the Let's Get Ready to Rumble. So I think that's at the other Buffer brother. It does not matter, but it's always interested in these weird, stupid things that make no sense. Oh, tiny screen.
Uh-oh.
Everybody's watching intently.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is the fight of fights, coming up. These are the two people that everybody wants to know more about. If they're going to go up against, they need to know. They need to have notes. Not everyone is as coordinated as Midoriya is, and I think this is one of the points where Bakugo kind of breaks it down for him too, because they're start going on about his quirk and about Todoroki's being super cool and not having any lag and all the other stuff, and he explains fatigue and physical quirks. So
I love also how intently Bakugo is watching this fight. We get a lot of cuts to Bakugo, very just laser focused, because he recognizes Shoto as being the top dog that he has to face against. Plus is Midoriya, who stresses him out to no end, so he needs to see, what happens.
Mm-hmm. The teachers are all like intense too, because I think even 13 mentions to All Might. Aren't these the two that saved you? Like the two that actually came to your rescue?
Yep.
Like this is going to be an interesting battle.
There's a moment in this that
Yeah, I got it. when, when he gets excited.
Okay, so I'll tell you right now, that's my moment of the episode because it's like it's my favorite GIF of all time, and it's like I don't know. Anytime I hear Shoto's name, I'm like Shoto. It's like fires spurting out. But there's another moment in this that I really want to talk about the manga, but I can't. But there's just like if you're rewatching this and you're reading the current stuff, that when the specific scene happens, you're just like, oh my god, like. Flash forward a couple, or not even a year. Not this whole 4 seasons that we have so far isn't even a full year, which is crazy to me. Because it's been like 5 years or something like that in real life, and it's crazy. But yeah, not even a full year later, we'll see a lot of growth in characters. But anyway,
I just love his little picture too, because he's like super scared. And then you have to keep going forward because this is like still they haven't started yet. It's still adding up to like all the tension of everybody watching and everything happening and their stances. And I think even Todoroki like changes his stance. He's like ready to go too. So it's like he acknowledges that it's going to be one of those things. Yeah,
love this line.
It'll be dangerous to let him use that power as he likes because he acknowledges that like I have to get the jump on him or else this is not going to go well either.
But it's also what a condescending thing to say.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can't let you use your power the way you like to use your power. Like, no one's actually really seen Deku like to use his power. His power blows off his like limbs pretty much. It's like,
Yeah.
So.
What's funny about this too, and I was watching this and thinking about it, is like he internally says all these like really mean things and like tries to talk about it. And like Bakugo like just verbally says it, but that makes him a more aggressive person than actually like retaining it and just internalizing it.
Yep. Oh, here we go. So this is the startup.
Mm-hmm.
Readying the finger gun, pretty much. I love the one for all in his finger, kind of like the look of that.
Yeah. Just the brace and everything that's going on. Like I can't even imagine walking out there knowing that you're just like I'm gonna be breaking all my fingers today. Just like let's go and do this
and go well beyond just that kind of simple breakage. That's awesome. One thing I do want to chastise Studio Bones for, and this is just me on my weird soapbox, but whenever they do like big splashy moves or things like that, they always dim the screen. And it gets to me every time it happens. There's some scenes where it's not that apparent, but then there are some where it's just like, oh man, I want to turn up the brightness on my TV because like now it's like super dim. There's a moment in season 4 when the whole battle turns dim for like 15 seconds, and I'm like, what? Why? And there's beautiful music playing in the background and all this stuff, and I'm like, give me the light spectacle, make it splashy. And I'm like, I don't understand it, and I hate it because what I'm seeing is gorgeous, and I want to see it like clear. Mm-hmm. Like I don't know, allow me the option to dim it if I want to dim it, but I don't want to dim it.
I was always wondering about that. I thought it was like Crunchyroll that was doing it. Like,
no,
like, maybe it's not high enough resolution. They had to like push it back a little bit because I was like, why is it going dark? Because it does it in the intro too when they
Studio
pan out.
Does it for any big splashy move, and I wonder if it ties into the epilepsy thing where big like flashy things can cause epilepsy. So maybe dimming it allows it to be a little bit dimmer. Yeah, as Dan says, I think it's to avoid people from getting seizures, and I think it's exactly what it is too. But at the same point, let me choose whether or not I want to take that risk. I don't know. I have to
figure out how to be able to turn that on and off for everybody, though. It'd be like subtitles and stuff that's going on. So
yeah, but like, okay, so we're gonna go to the chat for a second because everybody's kind of talking about this. Everybody's saying, I noticed that. Like, yes, it breaks immersion and all that. And then Eva says, yeah, it's to protect people though, and I totally get it. but it is like, as you said, it breaks immersion, and it totally does. Because anytime it happens, I always am like, oh, man, everything went dim again. So like I have to think about the fact that it went dim and then return my mind back to the show to watch what's happening. And yeah, like, I don't know, I'm watching like other cartoons, which, sometimes there's way worse cartoons that are just like constantly flashing stuff at you.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't dim anything. And I feel like those are so much worse. So I don't know. Yeah, that's it.
I just thought I was crazy, so I'm glad it's for a purpose. So.
Oh no, yeah, no, you're not crazy. I feel like you're going crazy when it happens, but
yeah, intense. Just him blocking, just like the eye intensity between these two for this entire thing is amazing.
Yeah. Well, there you go. He was prepared to injure himself to negate the attack.
I was just, and I think All Might explains this later, that he can't go at a lower percentage because he doesn't know if it's strong enough to fight Todoroki, because that's how strong he thinks he is in his mind. Like, if I'm not 100%, I'm not going to win this.
I think what All Might is saying is he doesn't know how strong of an ice blast Todoroki is going to send his way. So in the unknown, he has no choice really but to go 100%.
Yeah.
So that's what he's doing. I do think Dr. Stone does it, Dan, if I'm remembering correctly. Mm-hmm. And this is the first time anyone in the audience has seen someone stop Shoto's move. So everybody's crazed. And one of my favorite drawings of Midoriya, just like that crazy look in his eye. He's like, oh, I'm ready to go. I'm hurting, but I'm ready to keep going.
Such a pain threshold. It's crazy.
It gets so much worse too.
Oh yeah. I tried to get every still of just like.
I noticed that this had a lot of stills for this episode. So I'm gonna keep it going in the background, but if we continue, it's fine. Mm-hmm.
Just like, so Todoroki doesn't stop. He's like ice blast after ice blast after ice blast. And so they go through fingers. Yeah. And he holds on to. And then Midoriya actually mentions, he's like, I don't know how he is up close, like fighting up close, because no one ever gets that far. Everyone just gets frozen. They don't actually have to worry about anything. And so I like how he's still kind of announcing. This part made me sad. It's like, I have 6 more chances. So he's counting how many fingers he has left.
He is counting how many fingers, and he says, I have 6 more chances. And he starts counting down with every blast he does. Then he gets through them all. I was like, you know what? Screw caution to the wind. Give me another 10 or something like that. It just keeps going. It's ridiculous.
5 more chances. Looks like he hits him right there. I can imagine like how you like put your pinky out like that too, with like precise aim and everything, because he's really taking it. It's just ridiculous.
Yep. It's super powerful. It's and here's Bakugo just analyzing while everybody else is kind of like talking.
Yeah. And then Kirishima comes down because he's excited because he gets to fight Bakugo next time. And this is the part where like they were like really lighthearted. He's like, I'll kill you or something like that. He's like, yeah, okay, you think you're gonna do that, but like they just blow it off. And then he explains the muscle fatigue from physical things.
We're seeing it a little bit on Shoto during this time. So he's explaining it, especially in relation to what we had just witnessed with his match. But we are watching it also happen.
Mm-hmm. So like he's explaining to them that they're not as powerful as they are. They can't just continuously blast things or continuously freeze things. There's a limit to everybody's physical abilities.
Yep.
You have to be training for that.
I need to ask, Creation Odyssey says, this part of the fight was actually frustrating to me, and I want to know which part she's talking about. I'm very intrigued.
Yeah.
So.
I think this is still Bakugo talking about the physical quirks and everything. And then he goes into like, that's why he created his gauntlets the way that he did, because he needed something to assist with that. Oh, that's the next one.
Brace yourself. But like this is great because this kind of sets up training that will happen at the end of this season, I believe, where, quirks are physical abilities. The only way to get the quirks stronger is to, just like any physical ability, keep working out that physical ability, keep using it, keep pressing on it, that kind of stuff. And it's the only way to get it stronger.
And I also thought this was back to like when Aizawa was complaining about gym class not allowing them to use their quirks and how that's like not prepping them for success in high school and
Yep.
how they have to like basically rebuild muscles that are not existing at that point in time when they get there.
Yep.
And it's unfair.
The funny thing is, I was like, yeah, okay, there's all that blood. Where is it coming from? Is it underneath his fingernails? Because that would be horrifying.
Oh, just I don't know. I don't even like know if he's actually like breaking them or like, God, just like.
I think the first flick is a fracture. The second flick is a break.
Yeah.
Actually, no, because the fracture, he fractured his finger during the original training by throwing the baseball. And that was 100%? Or no,
Yeah.
did he actually try to? Okay, so then they would be fractured, and then he breaks them. And then he continues to break them.
Yeah.
Continues, and then he uses the full fist, and then it's like, yeah. Oh, the creation says, oh, when he's using one finger one by one at 100%, yeah. Yeah, it's a frustrating thing to watch, but it's also really cool.
Yeah. There's a lot of, when I first watched this, I was like, a lot of respect. So I was like, wow, kid, okay, we're gonna go this far. And then he's like, he has to switch hands because it's like Todoroki's not gonna stop.
Yep. And he's using the one that he already damaged before, which is,
yeah.
I don't know why he starts with that one. You'd think that would be the last one on that hand he goes
It
to.
already hurts. We'll just go with it.
Yeah, no, that's not what you should be thinking. Christian says a fracture is a break. Yes, but it's a less break. It's like
it's like it's a crack versus like snap.
Yeah.
That's a really bad analogy.
It's wait, what did you say? It's like a what?
Like it's like a crack instead of a snap, but that doesn't make any sense. Because if you break your bone, you break it in half, I think. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I'm an accountant.
Damn it, I'm not a doctor. I'm an accountant.
Yeah. This part really good. It's like because Shoto's like really trying now. He's like, I'm gonna get up close and like he's like, I think he says at one point, oh, I think you're trying to get me to back off or something like that, and he just like goes at him full force.
Are you telling me not to get close or something like that? That's
yeah.
what it says. Yeah. Which is really cool. I think he says after this.
Because this is when he actually punches with the other side.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a chance to use all the fingers on the other side before he hits him with the full arm.
No, I think he switches to like full arm pretty soon. Yeah, that's crazy.
Because his foot freezes.
Yep. Oh yeah, you can see him powering up the finger on that side too, right there.
Yeah. And this is when he starts talking about how he's more than just powers. There's better. It's not just a really cool quirk. He's got good judgment, application skills, mobility. Like he talks about how like he's actually thinking, and he starts seeing that there's going to be more than just. Maybe there's more than just Bakugo to be in awe of over too. Because
I think he was in awe of Shoto from the start, kind of thing.
But he never got to really look at him because like everybody else didn't stand up to him. So this is kind of like full Midoriya. I should be analyzing him, but I don't have time to do this. It's like,
but also, I think we're starting to see that ice fatigue starting to happen. You can start seeing it covering his arms and face. Dan says Todoroki was being mad cheap with that ice wall. By the way, I have some gripes with the ice wall because I think that if Midoriya is using 100%, granted it's just a flick of a finger for most of it, that it should blow Todoroki through his ice wall. It should be that strong, right?
Yeah, I would think so, but I don't know.
Because when he throws his punch, it does bust him through his ice wall, and he keeps trying to slow himself down until he gets to the very end. I think he creates an extra thick one to stop him. I don't know. I feel like they're kind of playing down the one for all ability, but I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
He does say though, because like the fingers are not as strong as when he punches them, so maybe it's just like there's more power there to gain when he actually can use full body.
When he's punching him, he's trying purposely to not use 100%. He even says he's like just imagine the microwave. He says it out loud too. He's like, just imagine the microwave.
Yeah. And he's just taunting him this entire time too. I'm like, wow, Shoto, like, wow, like you're supposed to be the calm, collected, cool guy.
Yep.
And then he realizes the fatigue setting in, and that sets his mind onto that. Like, oh, Which I think even makes him even more mad later. He's like, well, if you just use your other side, then you won't be having this problem. So
Yeah. This is exactly what he says to him before we get the origin story, pretty much.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. And then he's like mentions that Endeavor's watching. He's like, oh, his face clouded over thanks to you. And
because he's just using his ice and going toe to toe with him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's clouded over just because he's using his ice. I think Endeavor's just like, what is wrong with you? Why aren't you fighting at full capacity?
Yeah, because he's just using his ice, though, right? Yeah. But he's also getting a full match out of this, and I think that's part of it, too.
And I think this is the moment. This is like the really big moment, like because Shoto's like, okay, you're done. You've hit me with the punch. You've hit me with all fingers are done. You're out. And this is when Midoriya just talk about a desperate plan. If we're gonna go back to that term that he uses.
Yep. And boy, is it! I love the Sumi ink line around his iris, like in his eyes. Like it's very sketchy in a way that kind of conveys like the crazed look that he's giving. And I think this kind of goes in with Mineta calling him crazy after this. But yeah, I love the way that this is drawn.
And this is like everybody. I didn't get the chance because Bakugo's face was way too fast to capture it. I didn't want to go backwards, but like everyone is like, "What the heck are you doing?"
Yep, it goes and goes and goes. Midoriya's not gonna stop. Oh, this is the full fist punch and sends him all the way to the edge. And I think he recognizes like, wow, that's a lot stronger than usual. Are you trying to tell me to stay away, kind of thing?
Mm-hmm. And then because he hits him with the re-broken finger too.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's purple. I like that we have the color shift so you know.
Mm-hmm. Which one he used already.
Yep. And Crazy honestly says like he really didn't need to do 100%. And I agree. I don't think he does. Granted, he does not have the control yet to, go less, I think. The Revoltech has those eyes, right? I don't think it does. I mean, it has crazy looking eyes, but they're not like sketchy like that, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. I wish it did.
This whole part too, you could just like the rage building up slowly inside of him.
Yep.
And then he realizes it too. He's like, "Oh, yeah, I'm not feeling too hot right now." Like, and
this is what
yeah. You want to win with just half your strength. You're basically looking down on the rest of us, thinking that's going to be enough.
Yeah, you're saying you at 50% is better than all of us at like 110%, pretty much.
Yeah.
I love that. He's all beaten up to hell, and he's like, "You haven't done any of this, by the way."
No, I beat myself up. Like this, I think the next one is like the hand squeeze right there.
Why would he? Why? That's gotta make it so much worse.
I think Cementos later on is like he's full of adrenaline right now. He does not know what's going on. He's like, it hurts. It's gonna hurt so bad when he's done it through. And I'm like, oh, but he's ready to go. He's just full of emotion and just like ready to do things. This is
Dan, I heard Dan, or I know somebody talking in the comments earlier about where he talks about MP from gaming. And this is all, it's not that Bakugo is a gamer, but I think Horikoshi is a gamer, the writer-artist of MHA. And he just puts his gamer phrases upon everybody in this series. So that's where it kind of comes from.
It's a good way of like understanding what's going on.
Video games for sure. Yeah. If you don't know video games, you'd be like, MP, what? You don't know those magic points.
Yeah. But when I got this, I was like, oh. But I was like, it was odd that Bakugo said it. They could have had like Tokiyami do it or something like that. Someone else with a little bit more of a gamer type.
I see Tokiyami being a gamer, actually. Mm-hmm. Kaminari, Tokiyami. Like, I don't know. There's some kids that just strike me as more gamers.
Mm-hmm. But he's definitely thinking about it. This is the Imagine the Microwave like line and everything because he's ready to go.
He's actually going to hit him here.
Yeah. It's just... Oh, that's because he was trying not to explode the hand that's already hurting really badly anyways, because I think the other arm's already gone.
Yep.
It's hard to even watch in stills because I'm like, oh.
It might actually be worse watching it in stills because, you're getting this the music in this entire scene too, like they have a sitar playing that's just like it's amazing. Um, and you're getting the reactions from the crowd and all the stuff and everybody talking, and it's just like it's a very emotional thing. And you're not thinking about the moment for moment of the fight. You're more thinking about like what is Deku's motivation? Why is he going this far? And everybody's kind of talking about it. So you're more focused on that, I think, than the every finger exploding kind of thing.
And he's just like keeps attacking, like he's like crazed, like not gonna stop. And everyone's like, why is he like going on? And they froze his arm too, which was like, then it starts like dangling there when he's running around too.
Yeah.
Super like.
I'm worried about that arm. Like, does he? Because there's a moment where he kind of like almost trips and he lands on that arm, but that just break in half. No one can fix that. It's not like a recovery girl's not going to be able to like. I guess just put that back on and I'll kiss it. It'll be fine.
I think they all make a comment too. Just because recovery girls here, it doesn't mean we get to like beat each other up forever. Like it's crazy. When he keeps doing it and he's got all this. And I think Midnight and Cementos are like talking like, do we stop this? He's not going to recover from this. Like, how is this going to be okay?
He's just thinking, that recovery girl is going to be able to fix him up and everything will be fine. That doesn't even cross Deku's mind. That's like the best part about it is like he's putting himself through all this pain and struggle because he's trying to help Shoto, recognize that he's got to make his ability his own and stop comparing himself to his dad kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But he's not once thinking about the lasting damage that he's doing on his body.
And I think Aizawa was actually seeing this now too. Like this whole contemplation about the things that he had been telling him this entire time about how you need to like get this to go, like you can't be moving and hurting yourself at the same time. He's seeing the determination there, but he's also acknowledging that he's starting to kind of control it, even though it's obviously not there yet.
Oh yeah, he's actually, he's not 100% proud of him, but he's definitely proud of him in this moment. He's like, you have a crazy tenacity about you.
Yeah, his power has gone down, but he's gained some control. So.
Yep. A lot of resolve. Well, that's exactly what Deku has, is resolve in spades.
Oh. This is my moment, by the way. I like when I first watched this, I'm like, that is so clever because he couldn't get his hand in a fist. And I'm like, it was awesome. What a way to like think, hey, I'll just use the side of my mouth. Like we're gonna do this way. It's
crazy too, because after he does this, his whole cheek is just like smeared in blood too. It's just like gross. It's
gross, but it's so cool.
Oh, it is. It's really cool. I love that he uses it like that. I think it shocks Todoroki too. But it's also like the One for All and his thumb is even a different color. It's normally pink, but it's like you've used this thing so much that it's now purple. It's
like what power can actually go there when it's like that? Yeah, his face. Like I was wondering if he blew out his teeth, like what would he do? Like so I was like, oh, that was a rough one to do.
Yeah.
Your thumb.
Yeah, God, the thumb is the worst. That's not what you want to damage. No. Something that's interesting to think about is the way you use One for All, right? Or the way how he uses it. So he's been flicking fingers, and he only makes the finger that he flicks powered up. But shouldn't the finger that he's flicking against also be powered up to kind of support the power of this? Because wouldn't that just blow off this finger? If this is at 100%.
I think he charges it up, and when he releases it, because he has to have a directional thing, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about it too much but
I guess he's putting the One for All in the wind that's coming off the finger, not in the strength of the finger itself. Okay, that makes sense. Because I was like, can you imagine just ripping your entire just cheek open, like just a whole hole right there? Like that'd be.
He obviously did something to his face because it's like he did that.
I think that's just the blood from his thumb spread. There's blood flying everywhere here.
Yeah, it's more than his tears. It's just like, oh man. And then he's like giving him this like speech the entire time. Todoroki's like, what is wrong with this guy? Like he starts like slowly thinking about like, you're actually trying to talk to me, not just sit here and fight me.
And Shoto chastises him for this later, but
Mhm.
he does go. I don't know. He hits where he needs to hit, and I think he's also shot because like we get Todoroki. The name of this episode is Shoto Todoroki Origin, I believe.
Yeah.
And we're gonna like this makes him flash back. It's like whatever he's saying to him hits home to the point where we now go into his mind pretty
Yeah.
much.
I think you should stop screwing around. Like Deku just like calls him on it too.
Yep. And this is his mom talking. It's okay
Mhm.
for you to be one.
Oh yes, that's the line you were probably talking about.
It's actually a line after this. Something about the blood, being.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So we get the whole flashback of Shoto's mom and all the kids playing, and we get, Shoto is the fourth child, I believe, of
He's the youngest.
Yeah, he's the youngest for sure. But I think he's the fourth, and we see three of the kids playing in a room, and his dad is dragging him back to the training room, being like, "Don't even look at those kids. They're in a whole different perspective, a whole different area than you. You are well beyond them, like
Mhm.
by leagues." And so, like, he drags him on, and we get cut to him overhearing his mom talk to, which I imagine is probably like her mom or
Mhm.
something like that boy. Like, I can't even like look at his left side. It reminds me too much of him because we saw during the training when Shoto, is only 5 years old at this point. He can't stand up to his dad who's making him puke. He's punching him so much that he's puking. And his mom tries to stand up for him, and his dad just abuses her, smacks
Yeah.
her inside. So like, obviously it's a terrible relationship. And so she can't stand to see Endeavor in her son, and she has a hard time seeing him. And she says this over the phone. He overhears it, and he says, "Mom," and she recognizes, and the way how she turns around and looks at him with these crazed eyes, and then they just pan over to the boiling water, to the boiling tea kettle. And then the next thing we see is this. And, we hear Endeavor say, like, "Oh, she injured you, so I put her in a hospital." That she poured that boiling water like all over his face. And he's asking, "Where's mom?" kind of thing. It's a devastating origin story.
Yeah. And the part about this too is like I'm wondering, like now reading this from a child's perspective, if he thinks that he hurt her enough to put her in the hospital, not a mental hospital. Like it was like one of those things, like almost in his mind, like, "Oh, you hurt her,
Maybe.
you hurt me." Like as a little kid, you don't understand the difference, and just like,
Yeah.
oh, so you're only 5 too, little guy.
Yep. Eva says the first time I watched this line alarmed the fuck out of me. I thought Endeavor beat his wife, which actually isn't the case. Do you mean the hospital line that
Yeah.
Steph was just talking about? How like you thought, like you were just saying, Shoto thought maybe that he did that to her and sent her to the hospital, like he beat her up after she poured the boiling water.
Because I wouldn't have think different until later on when you actually see her there.
Yeah. I mean, the way how he says that line, "So I put her in a hospital." She hurt you, so I put her in a hospital. Like you could hear it that way for sure. I think I might have thought that the first time too, until the end of this arc, because we do see Shoto visit his mom for the first time, I think, since this incident, actually. So it's been like 9 years or something like that, which is crazy. But yeah, devastating.
And this was the line of lines for this entire thing.
Yep.
Because he's like, I'm not going to use I'm going to use my mom's power, not my dad's power. And he's like, it's your power. It's you that's using it. It's like he grits his teeth pretty hard during this point too. And it's out of frustration.
Yeah.
I think
we actually see Shoto watching All Might on TV talking about, and this was, I love All Might. I love everything about the show, especially like, a lot of the character backstories and stuff. I think All Might, his whole "I am here," what it means is a little bit of a stretch. He's like, "I'm saying when I am here, I mean believe in yourself and find that inner power in you and use that within you to become the best you. Or like he says, like all this stuff is like, and that's what I mean by saying I am here. You recognizing yourself, and I'm like, you had me until that. I don't know. It's a little bit of a stretch right there, buddy.
Yeah, just like, but it works for Shoto, so maybe it was a good message.
It totally works, but it's fine. I do think it's a little bit of a stretch, but it's fine. And this awakens the power.
Just all their reactions to it, to like, oh, the fire's here.
I love Ida's line saying, "Oh, the fire's here." Like no one expected to see it, and I think we even before Ida says it, we see him flashing back to Shoto saying, "I will never use my left in battle."
This is All Might talking about like, wait a second, you're not trying to win this fight.
Yeah.
This is crazy.
Okay. I think this is when we'll cut away. Yeah, right here. I'm going to pull up this scene real quick because it's a beautiful animated scene. We're going to keep the volume off so we don't get DMCA'd out of YouTube. But we're going to cut to us real quick because I don't know. This is one of my favorite moments. I feel like it needs to be seen.
Mm-hmm.
Of Mineta when all that's going on, like, because he's just going to blow away. It's amazing. I don't know. Everything about that is just crazy. And I'm going to skip ahead a little bit in our slideshow. We'll actually pull up again with Mineta.
Yeah. I like how Shoji's so calm too. He's got like one hand up. He's like, I'm gonna have to hang on to you.
Poor Koda. Koda's like, what's happening? I feel like he's always in a state of timidness, and this is gonna be so much worse for him.
So funny. And I think there's like a scene later on too that President Mike's like, what the hell is wrong with your class? Like, it's just like...
Everybody's just freaking out. They're like, what the? Because like, oh my god, the pressure I think created between the ice and the fire would have been enough.
Yeah.
But then you combine that with
One for All.
One for All going 100. I feel like he was going more than 100% there. I don't know. I feel like it was crazy because like the launch that he did, that he was flying over this block of ice and everything like that, and then they were just blowing through these bricks and bricks and bricks of walls, which is part of the part where I was saying I don't think that Shoto's ice wall would have stopped him if it was, the full One for All, because look how many walls he just flew through. Yeah, Dan says, I love Cementoss's panic barrier. And that's totally what it was.
Yeah.
And the only thing it did was create more shrapnel when that, blast ended up happening.
I honestly think it stopped Deku from actually hitting anybody. Like, I'm wondering if Todoroki would have got knocked out if he actually had not had so many barriers to get through because he was so beat up.
Yeah, we honestly don't know what would have happened, which is, I think they did that honestly from their perspective and from like someone who cares about these kids' perspective. They did the right thing.
Yeah.
However, I would have liked to see it,
And then like Midnight, like letting off, I don't know, like the
pheromones.
You don't know what that did. So it's like,
well, she was trying to put them to sleep, but I think the wind pressure negated all, because the wind is just going to blow that outward. So I don't think that got to any of them. What would have been great is if they cut to like a section of the audience all passed out because that's where her, her pheromones went to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Crazy.
Oh.
This is did you get that? Did I pass by it?
I thought we had it. I thought I sent
it. It's okay. Everybody knows the scene. It's when he's yelling Shoto up at the sky.
His eyes are just like, he's just like so excited.
My favorite. It's like one of my top 3 moments of the entire anime is Endeavor yelling Shoto.
He does like this speech as he walks down the stairs, and like President Mike's like, what a doting father, because the speech is not doting whatsoever.
No, not at all. And and I think he also recognizes the fact that like he's been there the whole time, hasn't said a thing, and yet he's finally using his firepower. So he's coming down and be like, "You finally embraced your true potential." Blah 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 blah. Now you'll become the best. Blah blah blah. It's like such a doting dad, just wanting your son to be. I don't know. You.
Yeah. What the heck is up with your class? It's like, oh my god. I was laughing. I laughed pretty hard on that part.
Oh, what's up with his class is he has the next All Might, the next Endeavor, the first Bakugo. I mean,
Yeah.
no one else.
A lot of people.
Yeah.
Well, Ida's the which we'll talk when we get to those parts with Ida later on. We have to talk about the engines on the guy's arms because that was amazing. I didn't realize they had different body parts for those.
Oh yeah, yeah. His are in his elbows.
Yeah.
And this is when the smoke clears, we see the hit of the wall that Deku must have done, and he's just laying lifeless.
They couldn't just have him like collapse. They're like, let's throw him against a wall. Let's not like get anything else that we can do to him. He's already broke all his fingers, his legs, his arms.
Gotta break his rib cage too. I mean, it's not gonna be a good battle unless that happens. I love the look on Shoto's face, like, what the hell happened?
Yeah, it's like, did I win? What's going on? It's like a different universe for both of them.
I know he's completely just in a daze, and I loved it.
Mm-hmm. And that was the episode kind of thing. It showed off like right there, like this is your origin.
It's the late title card. I love it. Yeah, because like I think that's the thing. It's like it's Shoto Todoroki origin, which you think is the whole backstory that he tells about, how he gets a scar, him growing up with his dad training him, abusing his mom, all this kind of stuff. But no, it really is like everything we've seen to this moment is Shoto Todoroki's origins. Like, all right, now he finally might start to consider the fact that his flame powers are a part of him, as well as his ice. So we're going to get a whole different Shoto Todoroki from this point going forward.
When everybody's talking about Deku and about how cool he is, or how he was like whatever, and Baku was just annoyed. So I think this is.
I don't understand this line. Like, I thought he was an interesting kid until the Cavalry battle. They did a good job in the Cavalry battle. He didn't come in last place, or first place, but
but it wasn't as showy as a lot of the other ones. So it's kind of like they're like this whole tournament thing. As I always says, is like sometimes you don't get to see people for their full potential because everything's about show and glitter and glam.
Which is another reason why I want to see the year 2 battle.
Yeah. Oh, God. He just stops Todoroki. He's like, you're not going to tell me to get out of the way and do all this stuff? And like going from throwing a tantrum and being like, I'm not going to do anything with my left side or right side or whatever going on, and then being completely calm and being like, okay, I'm not going to acknowledge you as somebody I want to work for or do anything. I'm going to do my own thing now.
This whole scene has a lot of impact later on in the series. It's like this is like foreshadowing to the max of like their whole dynamic will shift and change, and we'll see a lot of growth between both of these characters. Actually, it's I think the Todoroki family is one of the things I love watching and reading this series for. Is everything that kind of happens. There's still a lot of unknowns happening in this family that I need to learn more about, and it's just a lot more growth that needs to happen, but it's great. I don't know what to say. And the funny thing is, like, I know parents like this that would be like, he's obviously overcome a lot more than, his dad is saying on the surface, and he relegates it down to just being a childish tantrum.
Yeah.
Like, excuse me, but he went through a lot more than just that just then. He really.
It's coming from the king of childish tantrums. I'm just gonna tell it like it is.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Like Endeavor does not let a grudge die. Let's put it that way.
I mean, the whole fact that he was trying to become a hero in a world where there was All Might, so he's not gonna be number one for 20 years or something like that. All right, be happy that you are the next guy down at the very least. But no, he's throwing a tantrum every day because he can't be All Might. He had 4 children because he can't be All Might. Not because he wanted 4 children, not because he loved his wife, not for anything else. Then he just wants to be All Might. He is, exactly as you said, the king of childish tantrums.
Okay. Let's start the next one.
Yep. So I think we already kind of covered it, but favorite moment?
It's the cheeks part. Like with the thumb, like that defining part of the whole entire fight for me. I was like, oh my gosh, Midoriya. That was the coolest thing.
It was a step beyond. Yeah, talking about beyond. And I do think that it was a step beyond. Mine, I mean, I have to give it up to that Endeavor scene because I love that. But I think upon rewatching this, after going through the whole series and where I am, it might actually end up being that walk back to the locker room scene between Shoto and his dad Endeavor. It's like there's a great dynamic that happens there. And it's just like, he kind of walks by and be like, this has nothing to do with you, pretty much. And he kind of like bumps shoulders with him and be like, I'm still trying to figure out what this means, and try to make it himself. So it's cool. I definitely want to know what everybody's favorite moment was in this episode, please.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'll say it like I know the last episode before this was one of your top 5. This one was one of mine. So it's just so many amazing things.
This next arc series that we're going to be getting to at the end of this one, the introduction of the new villain, basically, there's another episode that's like one of my favorites too that comes up in that arc.
What episode? I think we might be discussing the same episode. Not sure, but the next arc that comes up, it's a mini arc. It's only like 5 episodes long, I think, or something like that. Yeah. It's my favorite arc of all of MHA, and within it comes one of my favorite episode. I think. Yeah, great stuff. It's cool. James says, "Whatever Endeavor's on screen, people should be booing." Now, yes.
Using his power is my favorite moment. That's cute.
I'm not. My chat isn't caught up there. So say who that was.
Oh, Sleep of Giants. Todoroki using his power is my favorite moment. So
that was a great moment. That I think is my number one animated moment of this whole season. It's like any ability to be used or anything like that. It's Shoto powering up that side, like wiping the ground, bringing it into the ice, and like those things kind of combining. It's just powerful, and they just did it so well. It kind of reminds me a lot of a scene from the movie, the first movie, when that Magneto-like villain is sending all that stuff at them. The ice kind of Shoto's ice kind of coming out like arching bricks resemble that in a way. Dan says, it's your quirk. That's my favorite moment. It changed Todoroki completely. Definitely. And also it's like, I think we start off the next episode with it, but it's with All Might saying, Deku's whole push to save Shoto. Like that's a very heroic thing in its way. So it's cool. All right, let's jump into the final episode because we're already an hour and 40 minutes in.
Yeah, I realize this.
Yeah,
this is the fight on Ida. These titles for me, I'm like every time I'm like, what is going on?
It's funny though because it's like it's fight on Ida, but his match is like maybe 7 minutes of this episode. Yeah,
there's a lot of other stuff going on. Like this part, like poor Midoriya being bound, like basically Aizawa was after fighting Nomu. He fought himself basically in bed and going on about this, and Recovery Girl basically putting her foot down finally and being like, I am not going to be healing him every time he comes in here and doing this, and you need to stop putting all this pressure on him because you're causing him to destroy himself.
Yeah, like you cannot, you have to admonish him when he wakes up. You cannot celebrate him for what he did.
No.
Boy, does that not go as well as she had hoped.
No. This was cute. Like he gets super scared, and I like how Choco introduces herself. Oh, very nice to meet you, because none of them know that that's All Might.
Nope. Which is funny because I want to know once the world recognizes. Maybe I won't discuss it because that's late.
Yeah.
Stuff. Darn. We should just go into spoilers. I think everybody in the chat has seen this. That's fine. Whatever. And then we have Mineta. Creation Eyes says the best moment is when he tells him he forgot about him. Best moment, and then Endeavor's face. I love that. That's part of that whole hallway scene where he's like, in that moment, I completely forgot you even existed, kind of thing.
Yeah,
it's great.
I do like it that he's very blunt. Like he's very like, that was probably not the best thing to do, Midoriya. You're like, that was like really weird.
Yep. I think Frapp even says you're pouring salt on the wounds, kind of thing.
because she would say the same thing because she's just as blunt with it about it, stuff like that too. I think that she's like, nah, let's just not do
It's
that
just
right
a little like your style of rubbing
now.
salt.
Yeah, yeah. But it's just like, oh man. Oh, and then she tells him they need surgery, and like Ida looks like he's like, oh my god, the world's ending.
They're all terrified.
Oh yeah.
But I think part of it, I think the surgery thing, because it'll say surgery in progress while she's just kissing him, pretty much kissing him to make him better. But I do think part of the reason why she was saying surgery was to get them out of the room because All Might's there and they can't know All Might is this.
I think she said she had to take out particles of bone that had gone into his like body before it gets into his joints and ruins him. Because I think that's a lot of the scarring that he ends up getting later in this episode on his hands is from her actually having to remove stuff. I think that giant needle must do something. I really want to know. So
that's her cane. That's her cane. Yeah. She has one in her hair too. I think that's her character design.
Oh, and then I wrote this down too because it was really, really good. Meddling when you don't need to is the essence of being a hero because he was really worried and sad that All Might would be mad at him for meddling Shoto's kind of role.
He also couldn't say exactly what All Might said prior to the whole tournament. He gave him that challenge, like, I need you to go out there with a smile and say, I'm here. And Midoriya wakes up being like, I couldn't do it. I couldn't say I am here. I'm sorry. I'll be down kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then the whole not celebrating him kind of fell flat in this moment.
Yeah. They gave him some, he was very solemn about it. Like, you probably shouldn't be beating yourself up, but it wasn't like this most stern that he needed to do. So I think that's where Recovery Girl came up and was like, I'm not healing you guys anymore. You need to not do this. I
do think a lot of it, though, too, is, Deku woke up basically beating himself up. And All Might, though, he took it too far and beat himself up over it, All Might sees what he did as an overall positive thing. He's like, you helped somebody, and like you did exactly the essence of a hero thing. So like, don't beat yourself up. Like, you're making it hard for me to chastise you when you're doing all the chastising yourself. So I think he's actually trying to take this almost depression from in the scene.
Then we go to the other fights that are supposed to happen because Midoriya's was just the first one of the next rounds that happened. And so we have a couple things. I wrote down Ida beats Poison Ivy because I didn't remember her name.
It's like Shao-Ci or something.
Something like that, yeah.
Oh, I will say too, Bones, the animation studio again, the scene of him doing the Recipro burst, and they did like this amazing fisheye lens effect of everything kind of rushing in, but warping around him, where it looked like the whole world around him was about to explode forward with him. It looked so cool, like such a good like effect of speed.
And look, he looks really, really cool right here, right? Totally awesome. And then the next thing, while he's pushing her out, he just looks awkward. It's all hell. Like, he's back to Ida, like super stiff. Like, I'm just gonna push her in the most awkward. Like, he was like super cool, run fast, and now I'm just gonna be pushing.
Yep.
Like, okay.
I love her. How like she was like, like what is happening? Because he's so fast. Yeah.
I don't know how her feet are still on the floor. like.
I feel like she's just sliding. Like he might be. I don't know, actually. I have no answers for you.
And then he pushes her out of bounds.
Say that name. Shiozaki?
Yeah. Oh. I wrote down Poison Ivy, which is completely wrong. But I was
but you say it really fast. It might sound like Shiozaki. Poison Ivy, Shiozaki. No.
No. This was because they wrote lose on there, too. And I was just like, really? Like, you just darken them. We're going to write lose. Oh.
Poor Mina. Dark Shadow is like, yeah. Like, freaking out.
She was like throwing like acid at it, and it's like, I don't know what to do. Just like, what do you do?
Well, at this point, everybody's saying, he is pretty much invincible. Everybody, like, I think this is everybody's take to be the winner of this tournament is Dark Shadow.
And then they're like, oh, he won an instant too because Ida won just as fast as the other ones. Um, and then it kind of clips back to Midoriya talking about how his hand is crooked. It's going to stay that way. It's never going to heal the same way again, which it shouldn't after breaking your fingers that many times.
Yep, I know.
And this was actually really cool because it mean the world was actually real. They weren't going to just like eat something magical or get kissed and then like be back to completely normal. I love that there was actual consequences for his actions and doing the things that he did.
There has to be someone out there though with a quirk that could maybe reverse damage or something like that, or I don't know, heal somebody 100%. I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, I like this whole thing. Like, you must find a way for him to use his power without damaging himself.
Yeah. And then Midoriya gets like she heals him enough so he could walk, and so he goes out and they have like this really like heartfelt talk because he's like, you came to this high school to find somebody that's gonna take over for you, and obviously I'm doing a really shitty job about that right now. At least he's feeling that way, and this is when you kind of learn about All Might's past and kind of like where he started and his little origin. And then the big thing that he's quirkless when he first got One for All, which was I thought was super cute and super well done to the story.
Yep. I like that they kind of saved it for this moment too. And he was like, hey, why didn't you tell me? He's like, I thought you were going to ask. I really expected you to ask. It's like, you never did.
Yeah.
I think that's also part of Deku's fanboying on All Might. He's not going to ask that kind of thing. Like, what was your quirk, kind of thing going into the whole One for All. But yeah, it was really cute. It was like such a good emotional moment because like now you get to see a little bit of why, he picks Deku and why he believes in him so much. It's because he like not only is he was also quirkless, but he sees Deku as like the better him at that age. Mm-hmm. Like he's like, you're doing things and you're gonna be able to pull more out of this ability than I've ever dreamed.
Because he was talking about how his master saw him, even though yeah, the master had a quirk and everything else going on, and he had One for All that she believed in a quirkless person too before they got.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is the first time we see her, and I mean, you only get to see her just like a little bit, but yeah. Wow. Yep. You were quirkless too.
Mm-hmm.
And this is him saying exactly that. Like, you've gone beyond what I imagined time and time again. Like, you keep surprising me, kid.
Trying to read the chat at the same time. Sorry.
Well, you saw New Mutants, and that stopped you. I know.
Yeah, I did. I had to read that whole part, but yeah, I'm in agreement that sometimes the superhero places they get a little crazy. They're like, "Oh, we're just gonna fix this magically with something happening," and this world explains a lot. They're running themes. They have things. Yeah. We're gonna learn something else too here. A little bit of a consequence that happens from reality, from heroes versus villains, and what can happen to good people. Yeah, this is Ida calling his brother because he wants to get him excited. He just won his last match. He's going to be into the semifinals. I'm like, where are they at? Like, how does it work? But and it goes straight to voicemail because he's currently out on a mission.
Which we'll cut to and see a mission. And there's his brother right there. Mm-hmm. His engine's coming out of his elbows.
Yes, which I was like, I didn't catch the first time until I watched it again this time. I was like, oh, they don't all have them on their calves. That makes sense.
Yep, they all have engines, but they all come out of different parts of their body. Stain.
I think I got every like still I could of his. He's amazing.
He's my favorite villain in this entire show. I love him, and he's not around for. I'm not going to say. Never mind.
We go back to the tournaments now.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think right now it's Kirishima and Bakugo next. Yes.
Yep.
And this was another one that like was action packed, and I really liked it because they're both on even playing fields for the most part because they know each other so well.
And Kirishima can take Bakugo's blasts pretty much.
Yeah, they counteract really well with each other, and so he cuts his like face, like he gets everything going on. They're both fighting about the same skill level, and it was like back and forth. And I remember even like everybody's like, oh wow, Bakugo's on an edge, and he hits him, but as you learn later on, Bakugo likes to test things and see, and like even Kirishima says it's kind of his weird thing where he's like, "Oh, you're weak here. I'm going to totally exploit this."
Yep.
It,
That won't work out.
Explosion boy.
I love it.
It gives him his own nickname too during this time, and that made me laugh.
I just got to stop real quick because Dan asked who's getting McFarlane Stain. I am, slightly begrudgingly, because I really need a Stain figure, and they're the only ones doing it.
Yeah.
But I will be getting it.
I honestly hope they don't make a Nindo of Stain because I don't think it would translate well.
I think it would translate just fine. I didn't think All Might would translate, but I love them.
I just think it would be, maybe we'll work with the jaw and everything because they do have those figures now that they open, but it's just like, ugh.
Do they have pointy faces?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they have them with like some of the League of Legends figures and stuff that they have. They have the jaws that move around so they can have the tongue. That's what all I'm worried about is that it has to have that like.
Oh, he has to have the tongue.
Yeah.
Stop talking about Stain though.
Sorry.
We'll get into Stain later. He is in this episode. They say his name. We can talk about that. We do see his tongue in this episode, so that's fine. We're on brand, but if we go too far.
This is pretty bad that I'm talking about somebody else besides Bakugo when he's on the screen. So that's how excited I am for this villain. So, yeah, so they're talking about going into this fight, and I liked the outcome of this because it was very even. But the only thing is, I think, is that Bakugo has a little more experience with fighting, and especially fighting other individuals with quirks that he can think a little more.
Yep. And, this is also one of those things where it's like Kirishima hasn't been testing his quirk. He hasn't been training his quirk. So, of course, he's going to have fatigue much faster than someone who recognizes the fact that it is, a physical skill and has been training it and whatnot. So he's going to that's going to happen.
Yeah. And so they act like he's on the defensive, but I really think that he's just like, I think they talked about it earlier where Midoriya was in an endurance match with Shoto. I think Bakugo is doing the same thing where he's trying to wear him down to see where he's going to be at to get an opening because he knows he can't just go toe to toe with the hardness.
Yep.
Oh, then he's just like in heaven with his like muttering. He's like, "Oh my gosh, I have to write all this down."
Is this after Ochako sees him and like, I thought you were doing surgery? Oh.
No, this is like right before, like then this is when they.
That's right. He's standing at the top. He hasn't even entered into the crowd yet.
Yeah. And then like she gets excited about she talks about that, but he's like, I'm gonna learn from what you did with Todoroki. I'm gonna use it for my fight against him. So, and then they start talking about how do you say ingenium? Ingenium. I can never get those. It's too many syllables.
It's an interesting name. I wonder why that name came about. Mm-hmm. He's a likable hero who honors the rules.
Leads people. That's all that Ida needs.
I gotta honor those rules. That's it. Rules, you gotta honor them.
And then they had some really good counters where Kirishima started getting like wore down, and you could tell why. And I like how even I think Bakugo explains to him why he's getting hit so hard. He was like, "Come on, dude.
You're using your hardening across your entire body, like
the entire time, and trying to move around fast. You're gonna wear out."
Yeah, instead of just hardening the spots that you see me coming for, kind of thing. Which is what you should be doing. Yep.
Yeah.
And this is the big one. Devilish look. Evil.
Always. Die.
Yep. I mean, this is bad, but it's not as bad as Bakugo's next battle, pretty much.
Well, yeah. Oh, and then Tetsu's pissed because he's like, "You didn't have enough guts. Like, what are you doing? Why did I lose you?"
The skeletal guy with the mud powers next to him is like yesterday's enemy is today's friend, right? Or something like that.
Yeah.
So good.
The final four.
It's good.
Which I remember when I watched this the first time, I was like, "Oh, Midoriya didn't make it." Well, it was kind of refreshing.
It was cool. Yeah, the main character isn't there.
Yeah. And this is the battle of Ida and Todoroki.
Yep.
And so I don't remember this one being very long, unfortunately.
I mean, it's funny that it's like fight on Ida, And yeah, this was a super quick battle. Though Ida gets 2 battles in this episode, so that might be. But Bakugo gets 2 as well.
Yeah.
But he knows he can't fight like Midoriya, so he has to do it an entirely different way.
Which he does, and it's really cool. But he kind of gets outsmarted a little bit because he doesn't think about everything happening all at once. Especially, I think he underestimates Shoto quite a bit in that one last little part. But he takes off running, and I remember Shoto, like, I don't know how you talk about, funnels him into like this part, and he's like, "All right, we're gonna stay here."
That's exactly what he does. He creates that little funnel for him.
Yeah, but then this part, maybe, like, I forgot that he can jump. It's like a burst of the same thing, and to stand and do that big of a jump, that's a lot of leg strength too. I always forget how big he is.
I mean, his legs are tanks pretty much, and he has an engine in his calves. So, yeah, he's gonna have mad ups. Oh, actually, that actually kind of worked.
It was really the action sequence was amazing, and then he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna stall out." He like knows like the seconds, and I thought that was really cool too.
Yep. Like, I have to win in that time, and boy, does he nail him really good. He like pins him down on the ground with that, right?
Yeah, just like hits him hard. And then he takes off running with him. He has to get him. He's trying to get him out of bounds at this point in time. And I believe he realizes that one of his legs is frozen, obviously. And Todoroki gives him a very big lesson in just because I use ranged attacks. Yeah, only showing attacks at range doesn't mean I can't hit you up close. It's like once you grab me, it's like you didn't think about it.
Yeah. It's I think he even says, like, don't you remember? You forgot I could do this trick.
Yeah. But he does have a headache from getting kicked in the head. So that was like, oh, at least he's like, yeah, I wish I would have missed that, but he didn't. He got him.
Yeah. And then is this when does he try calling Engineer?
Yeah, it like flashes over to the phone where Tenya's missed call is.
So when we flash back to Ingenium in the city, we actually see him notice something happening in the alleyway as he's running by. And he does this amazing, cool flip up a wall using his engine and his elbows to kind of like propel him up and flip him over and stuff. It's really one of the coolest like mobility things. It kind of reminds me of another character's moves we'll start seeing later on in the season. But then he touches down and he recognizes a familiar silhouette in that alleyway.
Mm-hmm.
And he runs into the hero killer, Stain, as he introduces us, the audience, to. And this is the next cut two of that battle. We just see blood and Ingenium parts all over the place, and not good.
No.
And
that's the line from Stain talking.
Yep.
I think this is one point where he's just like talking about there's only one hero that he believes is a real hero in the entire hero world.
Yep. One hero that he would actually let take him down.
Yeah.
He does say who it is. It's All Might.
It's All Might. Yeah. I don't know if it happened at this point or not, but.
No, it does. He says it like while standing, because they go from him being a silhouette to them actually showing him in light as he says it in this scene. Bakugo's rush is unstoppable. Is that because he's fighting right now? Yes.
Yeah, I think it's right now they're fighting. Yeah. I love the teardrops, on Dark Shadow. I was like, oh.
Yeah, poor Dark Shadow.
Yeah, and they're all talking about how unfortunate it is. A lot of people don't know why it's unfortunate, except for Ochako and like Deku, because he told them about his quirk and everything that's going on. But I will give it that he still tried. Like, he's really fighting hard, and Bakugo's just not having any of it.
He keeps looking for that opening, though. He's trying.
Oh, and then he like flips behind him because he's insane.
Yeah, Bakugo's got great mobility.
Yeah, it's just like doesn't stay still. Let's put it that way.
And this is his big stun grenade move.
Yeah, but when he says stun grenade, it's just like a yellow screen. I was like, I have to get like the move in there, which it's like a light stun grenade too, which is awful for poor Dark Shadow.
It's because he recognized what the weakness was and he knows to exploit it. So he uses basically a flashbang.
This
I hate that he holds his beak. That's so terrible.
well, I don't know if he thinks in his mind that Dark Shadow is him. Like, you never know. Like, he also has, that's his hand. That's how he fights. So he's like, I have you now.
Well, he has one hand over the beak, and the other hand he's firing off light to kind of keep Dark Shadow at bay. He's like
because he doesn't know
constantly
where it come from. So I can see, like, it is rude, but I can see Bakugo being like, I don't know what's gonna happen on this side or this side, so we're gonna do both. But yeah, and he figured out that the light was hurting Dark Shadow as they were going along, and I think this is when Kirishima said, "Yeah, this is when Kirishima was like, that must be your thing because you just like exploiting their weaknesses."
that's how you win, right?
Yeah, that's how you win. You don't have to win looking like that, but you could win.
No. Yelling die and calling people moron.
Yeah.
Yep. Bad matchup.
Oh, he admits to it too. Like, that's what it is. This would be a good rematch too.
Yeah, though there's nothing, Tokoyami can really do to make his Dark Shadow go against the light. He would have to train himself better. Like, he would have to become a better fighter so that he doesn't have to rely on Dark Shadow at all. It would be a tough match.
Yeah.
Dark Shadow is going to be a great hero in the nighttime. He'll be the best Batman that this world has ever seen.
And he gives up. I think this is the only one that. Did we have anybody else that gave up besides
outside of the people in the beginning? Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that ends the mouth.
Whose phone makes their entire body vibrate?
This is like shaking. This is vibrating the entire. They're like, "What's going on with you?" They like jumped up, and he's like, "Oh, it's my phone." Oh.
This is when he learns about his brother. And then we see Stain. Nice close up of that ugly mug.
With the blade right there, too.
He's licking the blood off of his sword, his serrated edge sword. So I believe, and please don't hold me accountable if this is incorrect, but I'm pretty sure this is correct. Horikoshi said he bases Stain's look off of Todd McFarlane's Spawn characters. It's like very much like that kind of very hard edges, lots of lines, like squinty, pointy edges, things like that. So it's like a purposeful homage in a way.
Yeah, it's a definite difference between other characters, like the style and the way he looks and the murderous intent, which is kind of like there, but it's just like, yeah, I can see that.
In the manga, when he introduces Stain, he says up to this point, the only person that he drew differently was All Might. Stain was the next person that for him to actually like add a different like cross hatching style to. He had a lot more shadows, a lot more detailing into Stain to kind of make him seem more otherworldly, like he was kind of crazy from this dark dimension almost in a way. Stain is not. I'm just saying more like in that way. Yeah.
He's just got a really cool design.
Yeah. It's crazy. I love his design. It's so crazy. All the knives and blades everywhere.
It's just got a lot of purpose to it too. It's like the scars just being frayed and everything. It looks like blood flow. It just like the way they did it is just he's amazing.
Yep. I love when Kurogiri shows up and he like as soon as he shows up, Stain sticks the sword inside the thing. It would have killed whoever was there if it was a person, but because it's Kurogiri, who's just a warp gate, he goes inside him. He's like, "Hey, calm down, man. I'm fine. It's all good. You can't stab me, but still, relax. We're a fan." James says is going to say he looks like the Max. Yeah, I mean, not gigantic like the Max is gigantic, for sure.
I this interaction between the Warp Gate guy and Stain always like surprised me because it's just like I don't know how to even compare it to anything. Like they both should not be corresponding almost. Like it's like two different areas of like the world.
this is that whole thing behind the notion of the enemy of my enemy is my friend, pretty much, and that's this. Even though you know from anything we've seen over the course of media, you know, villains working together never work out that well because villains are very self-serving. They're going out for what they want, and the ideology of these two groups couldn't be more different.
Mm-mm.
Granted, they're both a stain, a literal stain on society. They have different purposes for why. So, and yeah, it's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting pairing, as you said.
And I think at this point in time, they had already sent out that they're trying to recruit because they lost all those villains. So they're trying to find people to be part of their league at this point. So
it stains a big get for the league.
And Tamura knows that too. So he's pretty like this was like said and like, oh, okay, hero killer. I like that.
Yeah, I think he likes that. That's our final scene of the last episode of this string of 3 episodes. Getting into the end of the tournament, I believe, next time, and then the start of something else. Yes. So next week should be another good one. Oh, hey, look who it is. Hey, Trevor, welcome. Stuff for me. Trevor, you haven't gotten to this point. This is like basic season 2 stuff. This is honestly one of the best arcs of the show. You should get to this point. It's fantastic.
Has he started watching it?
He has seen a couple of it. I know. I don't know where he is, but yeah, he's tried watching it a couple times. So
yeah.
But yeah, nope. Wait, no, you haven't started watching it at all? I thought you have watched a couple episodes. Still in season 1. Yeah. Get through season 1. Season 1's only 12 episodes long. You can tear through that.
Yeah, it starts to jump off right where we're at right now. So let's get a little crazy.
Season 2, I really think that the beginning of season 2 is like we've given you the backstory of what you need to know. Now let's get off to the running and kind of go forward from this point on. And that's why I think if you can get to season 2 and kind of get going, you'll be hooked. So get into that season 2, get into this tournament, get to the episode that we covered tonight. Tonight, episode 23. 22 is great too.
Yeah, 22, 23, 24. Yeah.
But 23 is my one.
That's right. Personal plug in there. Okay.
Hey, my personal favorites, I think,
So
yeah, go ahead.
We're gonna go over best moments too, because my own best moment is just that Stain got introduced. Because when I first watched it, I didn't understand, but now rewatching it, it's like a point in the story that I just look forward to, which is a horrible place to look forward to, but I really, really like this next arc.
Well, we see him at the very last scene of season 1, I believe. Like they kind of cut to him as like something lurking in the distance, pretty much. But we get to see him in full effect. See why they call him the hero killer.
Yeah,
that hits close to home for our kids, stuff like that. It's it's deeply nestled into the story at this point, and it sets the stage for amazingness to come. That's a good favorite moment. I think mine is All Might revealing. I don't want to reveal it now that Trevor's here, and this is a spoiler time. Like, Trevor, okay, thank you for saying hi, but go. I don't want to spoil this stuff for you. My favorite moment for sure is All Might.
Little reveal for him, yeah.
I'm going to say it because we can't spoil stuff that's ahead, but we can spoil these 3 episodes that he's quirkless, just like, and how Deku surpasses what he would have been at that stage, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So you see why All Might truly believes in Deku the way how he does, and also he kind of believes in him on a personal level because he was there. He was, someone believed in him, so he was able to become the symbol of peace. Now he is believing in Deku, so now Deku can become whatever it is he becomes, whether it be the new symbol of peace or whatever comes next to fill that space.
Very cool.
James says, "I'm so ready for the villains." Yes, all of them. No, you're ready for one villain that comes out of what happens next. I know. Don't front. You know your likes. So But yeah, great set of episodes. You know, we had Ochako and Bakugo. Great growth between both of those characters, I think, in this.
Mm-hmm.
Shoto, Deku. Ida is going to go through some deep, dark stuff coming up.
Yes. The next few episodes are going to be, well, when we get to that point, too, there's another character showing up pretty soon here. Another mentor character that I'm excited for, too.
Yeah. Yep. For sure. All right, guys. And on that note, we're going to end this episode.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you guys all for tuning in. And until next week, keep it plus ultra. Go beyond, whatever. I'm just going to keep throwing phrases at the wall. Something sticks. Yeah. All right. Good night, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week. Bye.